So good morning, everybody. We are going to be starting on our backs. We have a blanket underneath us for slideability. My friends who have props, please grab any props you might want. And if you know you have tight hamstrings, you're probably going to want that strap today. So have that handy as well. My friends, remember, if you want to come in and unmute yourself and ask questions or what have you, you have the capacity to do that. Please do. Otherwise, let's go ahead and meet on our backs. And I kind of said it, and you probably kind of got it, but I'm a little disheveled this morning from being kind of flip-flopped all over, and that's not a bad thing. It just means that I'm a little disheveled. So I'm going to breathe some deep breaths with you guys as we're laying here on the ground and try to get all of myself and my bits and pieces back in. And we're going to try to do some twists today. So, usual position, that means your feet can be on the ground, knees bent, or you can have your legs out. Find a place where your hips can be soft. That's one of the main things we look for, right? If you need to adjust the shoulder girdle at all, just so you find that your shoulders soften to the earth and your collarbone broadens, whatever facilitates that, do that, please. Come into that breath right off the bat. You don't have to change it. There is no wrong way of breathing or right way of breathing. There's the way you're breathing right now. And hopefully you're not picking it up a ton, but I do have a lawnmower that just started out in the lawn. So, if you're catching that, that's on my end. And unfortunately, I can't do much about that. But I always think that's really good practice, right? When we hear something in the background, like we're in a class or wherever we are and someone's cell phone rings and suddenly we have a reaction to that. Maybe it's, oh my gosh, I can't believe someone didn't turn off their cell phone, right? And can you let go of that judgment and can you just come back to your own practice, your own self? And maybe it's, I love cell phones. I want to get a phone call. And maybe you can let go of that and come back to yourself and come back to that beautiful breath. And then we're going to use the breath to move deeper into that relaxation of the body. So let's get on the same breath. Let's exhale so we're in the same place. And if you need to breathe slightly different than me, slower or faster, go ahead and do that. But otherwise, inhale, fill up from the base of the belly up to the top of the chest. And when you exhale, try to release all the muscles of the face. Tongue, jaw, muscles around the eyes, the forehead, the scalp. Inhale, filling up from the base of the belly up to the top of the chest. Don't make that too effortful. And this exhale is going to bring us through our neck and throat, our shoulders, all the way through the arms to the fingers. So anything that's tense in there, let it go. Inhale, filling up from bottom to top, I'll call it. Exhale, checking in with the upper back and chest all the way down to the belly and the low back. Inhale, filling up. Exhaling through the hips. Inhaling and filling up. And this last one will be your legs all the way down to your feet and your toes. And then take a couple of breaths, just tuning in if there's anything that was talking to you, right? Any pulsing, throbbing, pain, muscle spasms, whatever might be going on. And then let's start to move from there. So if your feet are on the ground, let's go ahead and extend them out. We're going to do that half bound angle stuff we've been playing with. So the arms can come up a little bit just so they're out of the way. They don't have to be teed out necessarily. And you're going to go ahead and start to let that right heel drag up towards the pubic bone. And I think everyone on here is just familiar with this, meaning we've been doing it, right? So reach that right heel back out. So try not to look at your screen too much. Try to just feel your body, right? Let that right heel slide up towards the right pubic bone, towards the pubic bone. And then exhale, go ahead and slide that right heel down. So just the right side, we're not alternating. And if you alternated, that's okay. Right heel slides up. Notice how your right hip drops down and the left hip lifts. Let it happen. Go ahead and let that heel slide down. So we're not changing anything, we're just observing right now, yeah? And go ahead and let that right heel slide up and then pause once you get up. It doesn't have to be that high. Let that leg be nice and heavy and weighted, right? Imagine even that I put a, let's say, 10-pound sandbag on your thigh right up at the hip crease. You could even put your right hand there, actually. I'm doing that. It feels kind of nice, right? And if I were to really gently move that thigh down to the ground, lengthening out of my pubic bone through my inner knee, right? And then think of me putting another 10-pound bag. You might even put your left hand gently on your left frontal hip point, your as-is bone, and then just really gently let that soften back down to the earth. So you're not ripping those two places apart from each other, but let them both have a little weight and let gravity move them down, and just feel that stretch from the front of your left hip point all the way out through your right inner knee, right? So it's a fascial line we're playing with. And release the hands back down if you were using your hands. Release the right leg out. Same thing, left side. So let that left heel just start to slide up. Let it be really, really heavy and reach that down. So bare minimum amount of muscular effort to do this, yeah? And left heel slides up. Observe how the left hip drops down probably a little bit as the right hip lifts up when you bring it up, and then it goes back to a pretty neutral pelvis when you reach down, right? And do that again, just observing. We'll hold on the next one, right? Slide it back out, and then the next time, this time, when that left heel comes up, you're gonna pause. Now let that left leg have its complete weight, yeah? And again, maybe that left hand is helpful, or imagining me putting a 10-pound weight on your thigh right up at the hip crease. So that left hand might just really gently put a little weight onto that left thigh. And assuming this doesn't hurt you, yeah? And then that right hand might come up onto that frontal hip point, that as-is bone, and imagine a 10-pound weight there. And again, if I just put a little pressure down, again, don't think of ripping the two places away from one another, but think of both of them softening to the earth, and then just feel that nice, beautiful, subtle stretch from your right frontal hip point all the way across your abdomen, through the inner groin, out through the inner left knee. And go ahead and bring those arms out, slide that heel down, pause, tune in, check in, see if the pelvis, the legs, the abdomen, see if anything feels any differently to you than just moments ago. So now we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna go with both legs in one direction and then alternate going to the other. So now do TD arms out, palms up. Right? And you're going to go ahead and both knees are going to swing over to the right in that same vein of where the right leg was just going. And I'm demonstrating if you need to see it, but then let your head come back down and release. Reach the heels down. So we're starting to get into the abs as well and warm up. Now both knees are going to swing up and over to the left towards the left elbow. And slide that back down. This is our new sequence. Slide the right heels up, both heels up to the right. I'm full of them today. And reach those heels down, straightening the legs out. And hugging the left knees up towards the left elbow. That's probably a better way to say it. Go ahead and lengthen and straighten those out. So now the next time you go to the right, you're gonna stay there, friends. So hug those knees up to the right elbow. Let the legs soften down to or towards the earth, I'll say. And then you're gonna go ahead and you might need a strap here, by the way. You're gonna start to straighten your legs out as if you could get your right pinky toe edge into your right hand. Now that might feel really extreme to you. And if it does, just keep the knees bent or use a strap around both of the feet, right? But you're going to try to straighten those legs out as much as you can and just say, hello, hamstrings. And then see if you can reach that left shoulder down by turning the head to the left. Try to keep that left shoulder as close to the earth as it can get anyway. It doesn't have to be pinned necessarily. And I want you to push a little more through your left heel and imagine my left hand, my left hand, my hand on your left hip, helping that left hip move forward to the right. Ah, la, 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 la. I should talk less today, huh? What do you think? And then go ahead and bring those knees back into bent. Extend those legs all the way out. And go ahead and hug those knees up and over to the left. And again, that might be plenty for you right there. Yeah? You might start to straighten the legs out a little bit. You might take a strap around them or take your left pinky toe in your left hand. And the knees can still be bent. They don't have to be stick straight here, right? But you start to work them towards straight, whatever your body says, oh, I can do that this morning. That's not hurting me. That actually gives me space. And then maybe turn the head to the right. All of these are now stages. You don't have to go any further. Let that right shoulder soften to the earth. Keep it wherever it is. Reach the right heel further away. And then the last piece, imagine my right hand, just kidding, my hand coming into your right hip crease, helping that right hip move forward and gently to the left. And just say, hello, good morning, body. And bending the knees, releasing, reaching those heels all the way out. Resituate your hips, your pelvis if it got a little funky, and set it back down and stretch the legs out, arms. We're coming into resting pose. Pause. Just notice what you feel now. Right? So we're going to add a little piece onto that. You're going to go ahead and you're going to put your feet on the ground with the knees bent. This time I want you to pick the hips up and just slide them about 2 inches to the left and set them down. Extend your right leg out to straight, right? And then you're going to bend your left knee, right hand, outer left leg, left arm teed out. It's a twist we often do, right? Take an inhale. With an exhale, you're going to roll onto your right side body. So we were just here, but we had both legs up. Yeah, this time it's just going to be the left knee for a moment here. We're going to add a stage on potentially, right? And as you soften that left shoulder down, looking to the left might help that. Maybe this time you start to extend your left leg out, right? Now I'm just going to put my hand under my left calf to support the leg so it doesn't go any lower than my buttocks bone, but you could strap the foot if that's better for you. You could keep the knee bent if that's better for you, right? And then lengthen your heels in their respective direction, right heel down, left heel to the right, and imagine my hand in that left hip crease, helping that left side body lengthen. Go ahead and bend the left knee if it was straightened at all. And bend both knees, feet on the ground. Bring the hips back to the center. Pause. Right? So again, we're going in various stages. You're going to find the stage that's the most appropriate for your body this morning. Yeah? Lifting your buttocks. Moving your hips just about 2 inches to the right and setting down. Extending left leg to straight, bringing right leg in. Left hand, outer right thigh, inhale. Exhaling, twisting towards the left. Pause. Head might turn to the right, right shoulder softening down. So this is stage one. Stage two would be that I start to lengthen my right leg and straighten it over to the left. And again, I'm going to bring my hand. You could put a block under there to support it. Try to keep the heel no lower than hip height. Some of my friends, you might be higher. That's okay. You might keep the knee a little bit bent. That is also okay. But wherever you are, push your heels in their respective directions, right? Maybe that right hip, if you imagine me gently pulling the right hip forward on the diagonal over to the left and bending the knees, feet on the ground. So rolling back to center, bringing the hips back to the center of your mat, setting them back down. Actually, why don't we lift the hips just a second and just do a little shaky hips right to left, and just kind of release anything in that area and then set down. Go into resting pose, pause, notice your body, right? So even though we're on the ground, so they don't seem like they're big twists, they're still pretty big twists that we're getting into right off the bat here. Okay, let's go ahead and let's start to open up the spine. We've already opened it up, twisting to the right and the left. Most of my friends who know me know that I like to talk about the 6 motions of the spine. We've just done 2 of them quite intensely. We're going to go into a little bit of flexion, right? So, and extension. So from there, feet on the ground, knees bent, push into the feet and start to lift up and come up 1 vertebrae at a time, lifting up into bridge, baby extension for the first couple. Exhale, rolling back down. As you roll down, right, we're going to start to just gently move that spine into a little bit of flexion until it comes into neutral. And then pull that belly in and start to roll up. When you get to the top, find that little baby upper back bend, baby extension. Exhale, when you roll down, think of rolling each vertebrae, right? Rolling all the way down until you have neutral. Now we're going to go ahead and we're going to add on. So you're going to inhale, pardon me, and start to lift up just like we've done. Now we're going to see if we can go a little bit deeper with the back bend. If this is plenty for you, just turn your palms up. You're awesome, right? Maybe you grab the outer edges of your mat and you're going to rock from side to side, and you can just go under your blanket. Rocking from side to side, see if you can't get your shoulders under you a little more, right? And then I want you to push your mat forward so you feel the opening of the chest. And then pull the mat apart like a piece of paper and see if that doesn't help the triceps work. And maybe that is a little amplification of the chest opening again. Take an inhale. So this was Tuesday's work. We did a lot of chest opening, right? And exhale, rolling back down. You can let those shoulders escape out the other way. Pause. Just stay here for a moment. Inhale. And exhale. So now let's go into a bigger bit of flexion. We're going to bring the knees towards the chest, and I want you to actually grab your knees, not your shins. I sometimes coach shins. And as you pull your knees down towards your chest, let the tailbone get light. Let the tailbone gently move up to the ceiling if it wants to, right? And then go ahead and slide your shoulders still away from your ears. Move your upper ribs down, and maybe you start to lift the head and the chest up a little bit, and you curl into a baby ball, just starting to say hello to the abdominals as well, right? And so keep the shoulders away from the ears for this, but I am starting to lift up into flexion. And then go ahead and extend and let that come back down to the ground, and put both feet on the ground. So while we're on the ground, since we're doing all this stuff on the ground, we're going to go ahead and we're going to go to side body length. So extend your legs all the way out. Then we will have done all 6 motions of our spinal column. Right? Now let your right heel slide over to the right edge of your mat. And then you're going to slide, lift the left leg and cross your left shin over your right shin until your ankles cross. Right? Inhale the arms overhead. You're going to grab your left wrist and wiggle your shoulders over to the right just a little bit. This is that banana-shaped C curve that I often coach at. So push your left heel a little forward and to the right as you lengthen the left arm back and to the right. And as those 2 pieces move in opposite directions in this C curve, hopefully you're feeling your left side body lengthen. Where do you feel it? Right? Depends on the day. Sometimes I feel the whole left side body. Sometimes it's really centered in the armpit. Sometimes I feel the pelvis. Sometimes it's my IT band, right? So what's going on in there today? Maybe you notice it around your spinal column instead of just on the superficial area of the left side body. And come back through center. You can unwind the arms, but you can leave them overhead. Unwind the legs. Let your left heel go over to the left corner of your mat. Cross your right ankle over your left. By the way, your feet could just be next to each other if that feels too extreme. And then from there, you're going to grab your right wrist with your left hand. Wander your shoulders a little over. I just kind of do a little pick up with my head pushing down, right? And wander over till I'm in a C curve to the left. And then from there, I'm going to lengthen by reaching my right heel down and a little to the left and reaching my right arm back and a little to the left. And where are you feeling this? So when I was on my left side body, it was mainly my armpit and my IT band. On my right side body, I totally feel it in the inner bowl of my right kind of abdomen pelvis area, right? So just, oh wow, that's very different. That's good to know. I'm an asymmetrical being all the time, but I like to know where my asymmetries lie. And then go ahead and come on back through center, right? Release the legs, release the arms. Let's do that resting pose one more time for about 2 breaths before we come up and move off of our backs. So do you feel any differently than A, when you first laid down? B, right? We've been here, what, I think this is our 4th time or our 5th time. So, you know, hopefully every time we check in, we notice a little more about our body. And we're going to come on up. So I'm going to invite you to go to the fetal position and push up. We just did an awful lot of softening, so let's not harden all of our muscles to roll up quite yet. You can take that blanket and you can make it into a knee pillow or just get rid of it entirely, whatever floats your boat. Coming onto hands and knees. So we're going to go ahead and we're just going to do a couple of those cat-cows just to release anything going on. Inhale, reaching the chest forward. And exhale, rounding up. And then we're going to add on some of Tuesday's work. One more, just like you've done. Inhale, reaching the chest forward, or just, you know, usual, classical, traditional. And exhale, pulling that belly up. This time when you inhale forward, maybe the heel reaches up to the ceiling. I'm demonstrating, but look away once you got it. And exhale, now I'm rounding my knees and my nose together, right? So here I am in flexion and extension again. So here I am inhaling my chest forward. I'm in extension, my heel might lift. And exhale, pulling in, I'm still going into flexion, but I'm adding the weight of the leg, right? And do that again. Don't hurt the low back. Keep the low belly pulled up when you go into that cow pose so you don't overextend. And now maybe I push my right heel back and my left arm reaches forward. There can still be a little extension in that. And exhale, pulling into flexion as I bring my limbs into one another. You can leave your hand on the ground. You can simply do cat-cows with no limbs added into this. We have 3 different stages going on right now. And if there's a stage I haven't thought of and that's what's feeling groovy, do it, right? And then after you have rounded in the next time, you will set everything down. We'll go to the other side. I do have my wrist friends here. Remember, you can always do this work from forearms. So I apologize about that. We'll be off after this next round. And so inhale, reach the chest forward, no limbs, right? Exhale, round. So regular classic, just so we feel the motions of the spine, because this is really the main focus, right? Inhaling, reaching that chest forward. And exhale, round. Now we're going into the addition of the limbs if that's right for your body. As I reach my chest forward, I reach my heel up to the sky without lifting my hip, by the way. And exhale as best you can. Go ahead and pull that in, round your spine, but yep, the limbs come in, right? The knee, I should say. Inhale, chest forward. And exhale, pull the nose and the knee together. Right? Now, maybe you start to add that right arm into the mix. And so you can go ahead and extend the left leg straight back or keep the bend, either one, whatever works for you. And maybe those limbs, elbow and knee, come in, right? So I'm still doing extension and flexion of the spine. I am bearing the weight of my arms so that I intensify it a little bit, what the muscles around my spinal column have to do to support it, yeah? And after you round in this next time, you have completed the cycle, you'll go into child's pose. Knees a little wide, big toes touch, buttocks towards your heels, and we'll all meet in child's pose whenever you are ready. Pardon me, I'm gonna take a quick drink. I apologize because the mic is so close to my darn throat. I'm sure you hear it very well. And softening down, just letting everything take a few moments. And so it's a different resting pose than lying on our back, but here we are in a resting pose again. So you might use it to check in and find out what you're feeling in your body. Come on up to hands and knees to go into a twist. So we'll get the weight out of those wrists in just a second, Miss Eleanor. Inhale the right arm up and out. And scoot it past the left inner wrist, coming on over, seeing if you can get the right shoulder down. If that's difficult, this is where a blanket or a block could come underneath the right side of your head, right? And then from there, reach the left arm forward like downward dog if that's available. Right shoulder away from right ear, so space that out if it got a little crampy. And then push the shins down, low belly pulling up just slightly so you're neither in flexion or extension, right? I'm up just because otherwise you can't hear me as well. I don't want you to hear the muffle, right? And breathe. Soften the neck and let the neck move into that little hammock position. Coming back through center, That left hand comes back to push the ground away to come on up. And then we're going to reach the left arm up and out. And then we're going to reach it past the right inner wrist. Reach, 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 reach. Trying to set down the left shoulder and the left side of the head. And if you need a block or something to support the head, you do. Creep the right arm forward into downward dog style arm. Shins gently pushing down, low belly gently pulling all the way to the chest so you keep that spine long. You're neither in flexion or extension. And then make sure that left shoulder is away from the left ear so that you can soften that neck there. Take one more breath. And right hand under right shoulder to push the floor away. Let's move into downward dog. Any of my friends where that's too much on your shoulders, you might just go into half downward dog or extended child's pose. If you're joining me for downward dog, hands about 2 inches in front of your shoulders. Before you go up, I have a request, and if you're already up, it's okay. Inhale, reach the chest forward, go into cow. We're in extension, right? So now keep the upper back as extended as you can, but pull your low floating ribs up so that you're in neutral in the mid-thoracic. If that doesn't make sense, don't worry about it. Exhale, slowly taking that long spine back with you that you just created. Then hopefully you don't have to adjust it once you're in your downward dog, right? If you want to pedal the legs out at all, paging one heel down and then the other, please feel free. I'm doing a sneak peek at bodies, so I'm not doing the motion right now. I just want to see everybody's body. Good morning, Miss Kate. I didn't get to you. And then come back through center. Right, and as you find that center, you might start to lengthen the heels down or straighten the legs back, but you never have to all the way. And you're going to walk your hands back to your feet when you're ready, or your feet forward, whatever works for your body. Hands on the shins, reaching that chest forward. Exhale, folding in. Let's do that again. Inhale, so here we are moving into a baby extension again. And exhale, folding in. Hands on the hips, elbows up. You're neither flexion or extension. Find the long spine, and once you got it, keep it. Bring it all the way up with you. You come up to standing. Come on up to the top of the mat, friends. You can leave the blanket down. We are going to drop the knee. Inhale, reach those arms out and up. Exhale, folding in. Inhale the chest forward. And bending the knees, planting the hands, ground or block, stepping left leg back. Let's do that long line we play with so often, right? I think this is such great core work right here. Get that right hip to move in and back. Move that left heel back. You're neither in flexion or extension in any part of your spine, hopefully. And then reach that right arm forward without the right hip popping up, right? So left heel back, right arm forward. Maybe that left arm reaches forward for a breath. Maybe it doesn't. And bringing the hands down, bring the left knee down. You're going to come up into a low lunge. So inhale, let's bring the arms forward since we just worked that line. Yeah. Now, what I often see is when people come forward, they're already coming up and their spine is completely out of alignment, and then we have to readjust the whole thing, right? So what happens if we keep the alignment and we come up and bam, there it is. Ha, 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 ha. The things that help us find it are the frontal hip points up, buttocks flush down, right? Long spine, my rib flares, check in with those floating, low floating ribs, right? And then right hand, right thigh, you're going to lengthen out of the left side waist and lean just a little bit to the right and get into the top of that left psoas. Here we are in our lateral stretch again, one of the 6 motions of the spine. Coming back to center, moving now into the twist. So reach the left arm forward until it comes down to a block or the ground under your shoulder. Inhale the chest forward, keep that right hip in and back, just like we did moments ago. Start to turn towards the right knee. Right? Now, from there, slide your shoulders away from your ears. And you're not going to go into extension, but think of that beautiful upper back pulling in so you broaden the collarbone. And then if it's feeling groovy, that right arm might reach up into the air. right? Hand can stay on the thigh the whole dang time. Some of my friends who'd like a challenge and a little bit of juice today, you got some excessive energy you need to use, right? Don't deplete yourself, please. Curl your left toes under and push the left heel back. As the left heel lengthens back, keep the right hip in and reach the chest forward and get as long as you can. Take an inhale. And exhale, bringing the hand down, the right hand. We're stepping back to downward dog. Remove any props or your variation thereof. And Miss Lori, I see you're using props to help your shoulders. I like that. So feel free to bring them in for your case. And Miss Eleanor, I'm not sure how downward dogs are on your wrists, but remember you can always come to forearms. And inhale the left leg up into the air behind you. You're going to float that forward. Try to, I say float, but use some of that muscular action we just trained the body for, you know. And then maybe those blocks come in and you start to get all the length in the spinal column. So again, check into your spine. Be curious. Where does it want to go out of that alignment of the long spine, right? Spinal elongation where you're neither in flexion or extension. Keep the left hip in and then maybe that left arm reaches forward. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe the knee's down, right? And then maybe the right arm reaches forward and you get as long as you possibly can. Left hip and right heel back and reach the chest forward. And then bringing both hands down to bring the right knee down, uncurl the toes. Now here's where I'm talking about. Hopefully that spine is still really long because we just found the core support. Reach the arms forward. Don't change it as you bring it all the way up. But you know, double check all the business once you get up. It's very rare that I bring it up and I'm completely aligned. I always have to adjust things. Soft shoulders, left hand, left thigh. Lengthen out of the right side waist and lean a little bit to the left. Lateral stretch. So now it's lateral to the left. Inhaling back up. Keeping that beautiful spine, lengthening out of the side waist until the right hand comes onto the ground or the block under the shoulder. Inhale the chest forward, and then you're going to start to turn towards the left. Make sure that left hip keeps moving in and back. Before you lift the arms, slide the shoulders away from the ears, and again, come into that upper back, right? See if you can find just think of a baby extension happening in that upper back. And then lift the left arm up out of that if that feels appropriate. So you might hang out with the hand on the thigh. You might hang out with the arm right. You might curl your right toes under so slowly. Reach the right heel back, starting to lift the right knee up, lengthening and straightening. My chest forward, my right heel back for my length. I make sure that left hip stays in for pelvic floor, and I might get a little deeper in the twist. Take an inhale, or I might just be building more heat. Left hand down to block or ground. We're going to step forward to the top of our mat. However you need to facilitate that, friends. Inhale the chest forward. And exhale, fold. Inhale, arms out wide. Hands can always be on hips to bring you up. And exhale, arms out and down. Let's go ahead and add on. Inhale, arms out and up. Exhale and fold in. Inhale, reaching that chest forward. Try to keep a little bit of that baby extension as you bend your knees. Place your hands down and step your right foot back. So here we are in that super long line again, right? So again, we're going to visit it one more time, but we're going to try and lift both arms at the same time, or maybe just your left arm if that's all you're doing, but pause for a second before you lift them. Reach your right heel back, right thigh gets pointed. Left hip in and back, pull the low belly up, right? And then from there, try to reach both those arms simultaneously forward. You're in that jackknife position. You're not lifting or raising the torso. You're lengthening the whole body. It might just be the left arm. That's okay. And then we're going to go ahead and we're going to bring the hands down to bring the right knee down. Uncurl the toes. Keep your long spine. Inhale, arms forward to come up. Left hand, left thigh. Now we're going to try to hook the elbow on the knee, right? So the right elbow, left knee. So lengthen out of that right side waist. Now turn just slightly so your belly button's in line with your left knee, right? And then lengthen, pull out of that right side waist until you can bring the right elbow to the outside. If you're like, no way, sister. Right hand under right shoulder, yeah? I'm gonna reverse so you can see my front body. You're going to bring your hands together in prayer if that's available. Wrist issues, you might just bring your left fist into your right hand. And inhale, lengthen. Now come into the upper back. You remember that baby extension I've been talking about, right? Can you find baby extension in the upper back, aka lengthening the spine? And then elbow and knee might push together a little bit to deepen the twist. We're going to play with that back leg. So I'm going to suggest you look down if you're going to lengthen the leg. Curl your right toes under, push the right heel back, lengthening the right leg, reach the chest forward, and now maybe you play with turning and looking up towards the ceiling, ha, 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 or whatever that is. Maybe it's just out to the side. Take another breath wherever you are. Exhale, bringing the hands down wherever you are. Stepping back to a plank if you'd like a little bit of heat. Forearms can come down. Downward dog if you're like, no. Child's pose if you're like, no way, right? Push those heels back, reach that chest forward. Exhale back, downward dog. I'm gonna add an extra piece of core for my friends who want challenge. Inhale the right leg up into the air. You remember how we bring the right heel towards the pubic bone when we're laying on the ground and dragging it? Same kind of idea. You're gonna slide that right leg out to the right and bring your right knee towards your right outer armpit. Oh my gosh, what? Push that right heel back. Have I told you yet today how much I love you? Again, come forward. You can round the spine a little bit, but try to bring the knee to the outer right armpit. And bring it back and set it down. Other side, lift the left leg up. Same action of the leg, friends. Left knee towards outer left armpit. I'm not saying that makes it easy. It's not easy. Push the left heel back. You can hear my breath get rapid. Start to come forward. Bring the left knee towards the left armpit and send it all the way back. And set that down, downward dog. Inhale. Exhale. We're going to bring the crud. I started on one side and then started mirroring you. I believe we need to bring the right foot forward. Is that accurate? Right leg up in the air and right leg forward. Yes, because that's where I reversed right there. Okay. So from there, fingertips can be on blocks or ground. Lengthen, 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 right? Left heel back. Your knee can totally come down for this if you'd prefer. You can only do the right arm if that's better for you. We're going to try to simultaneously lift both arms up as we keep our right hip in and our left hip back and come into jackknife. Oh, bring the hands down. Holy moly. Bring the left knee down. Uncurl the toes and inhale, long spine. Anjaneyasana. From there, right hand, right thigh. Lengthen out of the left side waist and steer that belly button just ever so slightly. Baby twist to the right knee to start you off. Now lengthen out of that left side waist like crazy as you come over and try to hook your elbow to the outside of the knee or simply place left hand under left shoulder. Hands in prayer or right fist into left palm if that's better for your wrists or shoulders for that matter, right? Inhale, try to focus and see if you can't find that baby extension in the upper back between the shoulder blades. Now look down if you're going to join me for this piece. You might curl your left toes under and start to push the left heel back, lifting the left leg. Keep that right hip in, right hip in, right hip in. Now find your spine again, your upper back particularly. You probably lost it. I did. And then maybe you turn the head gently, one little bit at a time. I often talk about how I do spotting. It's a dancer's technique. You keep your head where it is. You move your eyes first. You fix them on something, and then you turn your head. You move your eyes, fix them, turn your head. And that often helps balance. Take an inhale. Ooh, exhale, hands down, stepping forward to the top of your mat. However you got to get there. Inhale, chest forward. Exhale, fold. Inhale, standing all the way up, rising, I could say. Whew, exhale, bring those arms out and down. Am I the only one who built up some heat there? Slow the breath down. And just take a moment. And actually, while you're taking your breath, I'm going to do a quick little demo. So you're not doing this, I'm demonstrating. You'll come and you'll join me in a hot second. And I want to show, just in case you don't have blocks, You probably have the edge of a bed, the edge of a couch, the edge of a coffee table, or a chair. It doesn't have to be a chair, okay? But I'm gonna show you twisted triangle, and I'll pull that in a moment. So we'll step back, and at first we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna take pyramid, right? And we'll come down, and we'll try to come down. You can always leave hands on hips if you don't have blocks, or again, if you've got that thing next to you, you're gonna put your hand on that, and you can support there, right? And then we're gonna go ahead, either right hand on the block or on the hip. We're gonna lengthen the left arm out, and we're gonna do the same thing we just did. Now that hand might come inside to a block inside the leg. A little more intense is outside the leg. And of course, we've got a piece of furniture right next to us if we need it. We're gonna lengthen. I actually love coming up a little higher. I find way more in my spinal column. And then I lengthen. I'm gonna look for baby extension in my upper back. And then I'm gonna see if I can't push into whatever the heck I have to try to move my left shoulder over my left wrist to rotate open. I may or may not reach that right arm up. Okay, so that's the look of where we're headed. If you have blocks, put them on either side, then you just have them. If you're like, I'm gonna need support, but I don't have blocks, you might just, for this pose, move yourself over next to a piece of furniture. Y'all got furniture in your house. This much I know. It could even be as high as this dang counter, right? I could still work twisted triangle off of a counter. Okay, so if you're not quite there yet, it's okay. I move slow and I talk a lot. Hands on the hips. Bend the knees and step the left foot back. So it's a shorter stance. It's about a leg's length, your leg, not mine, right? See if you can't move your right hip back and left hip forward a little bit so you can parallel your pelvis to the front edge of your mat or your wall, whatever you're working with, right? And then elbows back a little bit. Inhale, lengthen the spine and start to fold out over those legs. And this is where you might just bring the right hand to your support system, whatever it is that you're gonna use. If you've got blocks, maybe hands come to blocks. And we're not gonna go all the way down with pyramid. We're only gonna go about halfway, meaning your chest about the height of your hips, if even, depending on your body. So as you root that outer left heel down, can you lengthen your chest even further forward? Think about that right hip moving in and back, right? And as a matter of fact, put your right hand on your hip, move the right hip in and back, and then reach that left arm straight forward. It's the line we've been working, right? A number of times in class today. Now, as you push your right hip back, lengthen more out of the left side waist until that left hand can make it down to your support system, whatever you're working with. Inner edge of the foot or right in front of the foot would be more less intense than on the outside edge. Right? Now inhale, push the right hip back, reach the chest forward. Think of the baby extension in the upper back. And then maybe you can move that left shoulder a little further over the left wrist. Maybe that right shoulder lifts and maybe the right arm lifts up out of that. Again, if you want to play with gaze, spotting, turn your eyes to the right and then turn your head once they fix on something. Turn your eyes first, fix on something, turn your head. Turn your eyes, fix on something, turn your head, right? And you might end up, you find you can look up and still maintain your balance. And if you fall, that is so awesome. Push the left heel down, lengthen the chest further forward, inhale. Down or to the hips or to your support system. Hands on hips when you're ready. Coming all the way up. This is the peak pose. If you haven't stepped that left, I don't know about the whole day. Maybe you have other stuff going on. So I'm just simply going to switch myself, but you would switch if you only have one thing you're working body. So it to the left side of your body. There. Out of legs on hips, so you squill this to the front of your mat, elbows back a little bit, lengthen with an inhale, and then start to fold over on your exhale. And it might just be the left hand coming to your support system. It might be hands on blocks, whatever works for you, but the torso drop any lower than the height of the hips, and maybe not even that low, right? And take up there, reroute that right heel down and lengthen the chest forward, forward, forward. Now, left hand on left hip. Push that left hip in and back with the thumb at the crease. Reach the right arm forward. The more the left hip moves back, do you feel how the longer you can get out of the right side waist? Now, bring the right hand down, either inside, a little less tense to that left foot, or to the outer edge, right? On whatever prop you're working with. Now, push down in the prop and try to lengthen. Try to find that baby extension in the upper back. And then maybe you can move your right shoulder a little further over your right wrist. Maybe that left shoulder can lift up. Maybe the left arm lifts up. So now these are all stages, obviously. You're going to take the one that's right for you. You might never lift your hand off the hip. Maybe eyes start to turn to the left and find something, and then the head turns that far. And then the eyes go again, right? So again, that's called spotting. It's a dancing technique, and I find it super useful when I do balancing poses in yoga. And now once you get into wherever you're going, push that right heel down, reach the chest further forward, lengthen, lengthen. Woo! Turn and look down. Release body forward. Hands on hips. When you're ready and you feel stable, inhale the chest forward, stepping forward to the top of your mat. That one was called Twisted Triangle, and I just want to point something out very briefly. I didn't point it out while you were in the pose. What? We already did that once today? That's crazy, yo. Right? So there's a method to my sequencing madness, right? We did it on the ground because it's a lot easier to find, so we could already have the familiarity in our body. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's come all the way down to our buttocks. You can go through chair, but you don't have to today. We already worked plenty, I think. Feel free to sit up on a blanket if that feels supportive to your pelvis at all. You're going to bring your right heel back to your pubic bone. Here we are, similar anyway, right? Let that left leg come out to the left just a little bit. We're going to go into a variation of Janu, Shirsasana. Inhale and get tall. You're going to frame your left leg, one hand on either side, that means, right? Turn the belly button just a little bit towards that left thigh, and then go ahead and start to fold out over. And if you know me, I love with forward folds to keep the length of the spine as long as you can. And then once you get there, maybe steer that belly a little bit towards that left thigh. Think about that right hip being heavy and softening down. So I don't want you to actually do this, but I want you to remember when we were on the ground and you had one hand on your left hip point and one hand on your right thigh, and you gently moved them away from each other, right? So keeping your torso turning that way, think of that length. Sorry, I said it wrong, the right hip. You guys, I'm mirroring you. So it'd be your right as is and your left inner groin. Sorry about that, friends. And inhale, reaching the chest forward, coming on up. And hopefully, in case that didn't make sense why we're here, so right, it's that hip and that thigh. If they gently move away from each other when you're in that, a little more length across this fascia. Let the legs move out. Bring the left heel in. Right leg can go a little wide if that's more comfortable. And in case I say it wrong, it'll be your left frontal hip point and your right thigh that I'm talking about. Inhale, get really tall and start to frame your right leg and long spine, long spine, long spine. Just before it feels like it can't stay long anymore, take a moment, steer the belly button towards that thigh and then soften out over the leg, right? So we're going to try to keep the torso basically where it is. But now I want you to think about those 2 points, the left frontal hip point and the right inner groin, right directly at the pelvis. Can those two pieces lengthen in opposition away from each other? And can you still breathe? So for me, I feel it a lot in my QL, in the back body, my lower left back, but also I'm trying to see if we can't lengthen across the abdomen and the inner groin, the fascial one. Inhale, reach that chest forward and come on up. Help that knee up. Coming all the way down onto your back body, feeling free to use a little bit of core on the way down. Once you get onto your back, it might feel nice just to take a regular old hug of the legs in. You can go into a rounding of the low back or not, whichever one feels nice. Maybe rocking a little bit from right to left. And then I'm going to give you a couple of options. It's going to be a supine twist that will stay in for a few breaths. You can either put your feet on the ground, walk your feet as wide as your mat, and do more like a windshield wiper. You'll probably feel this more in your pelvis, in the front of the thighs, maybe even a little bit outer hip region, right? You might have knees just stay in towards the chest, and in doing so that will probably move it up so it's a little bit more low to mid back area, that twist. So whichever part of this is like that part of my body needs it, do that one. Yeah, TV arms out, take an inhale, and with an exhale you're going to let the legs come over to the right. So if you're windshield wiper, they swoosh over. If you're doing the knees up to the chest, hug the knees in a little bit as you start to release them over. But then once you get to that place, right, soften everything. And if the knees come away, let them. Maybe turning the head to the left. Whichever version you're in, we're going to stay here for about 5 breaths. So try to find a comfortable place, if that means knees further away or whatever that is. Windshield wiper, you could always put right foot on left thigh if that's nice. And we've got about 3 more breaths. Inhale. Exhale. What can you let go of? Inhale. I could also say, what can you soften? Take an inhale, and with this next exhale, think about the word surrender. Really gently bring the knees back up wherever you are. Put the right foot down if it was lifted for my windshield wipers. And then with your exhale, the knees will either swoosh to the left windshield wipers, hug if you're a hug, let them whenever you get to that spot. Foot on right thigh. I'll demonstrate that just in case that's not making sense. And then we got 5 breaths. Inhale and exhale. And again, just thinking of anything that you can let go of. Inhale. Exhales are really good at releasing. So exhale and release. 2 more, friends. Inhale. Softening. Inhale. And if it doesn't speak to you, don't worry about it. But if the term surrender speaks to you at all, surrender. Gently bring those legs back up. Left foot would come down if you're a windshield wiper and it's stacked. Feet on the ground. And again, I'm going to suggest to all of us that we pick our hips up and we just wiggle them a little bit right to left and just jiggle, right? And then bring that pelvis down, roll it down. Feet on the ground, feet wide, knees lean in, or legs extended, your option. And don't, it's going to be the same as how you started class. Body is very different than it was at the beginning. And then before I take my voice out, just, I don't know, kind of blow mind, science in general, and especially the body. I'm just fat in your body. That's the time you're born until the time you die. But otherwise, every cell, another cell, some percent of them, they all die at some point in time. You just aren't. You're the same. You're I am going to take my voice out, and just so you know, I'm also going to put myself on mute just a little bit so that you guys don't have to listen to all the yard stuff over here, and talk you out in about 3 minutes, about 2 minutes. Bring your awareness back to your breath. Face aggression. Since last time we spoke, up to seated or kneeling when you're ready. For any of my Worby friends, I to the button, and we are at almost 10 o'clock. Stick around and join me for Namaste. You are in that seated position. You can just go ahead and Julie, can you hear me? Can you hear me, Brian? Can you hear me, friends? Okay, some people are sitting and some people are still lying down, so I'm not sure if and who can hear me, but go ahead and gently take time and come up to seated. I'm gonna come closer since I'm not on the headset anymore. I unmuted myself, but I guess my headset wasn't working very well. And once you get up to that seated position, please don't speed up just because I had technical difficulties. Find yourself in a nice tall spine. You know, that nice tall glass of water, a nice tall spine. Bring your hands together in front of your chest. Take a big ol' inhale. Exhale, bow your head to your heart. Just remembering to let those two always try to make decisions together based on love and abundance and not on fear and scarcity. Every day I remind myself of that. I don't know that I'm very great at it, but I try. Inhale. And namaste.